On the run from the police in 1961, outlawed African National Congress leader Nelson Mandela stated the democratic objectives of his party in this interview with the BBC.
The Africans want the franchise on the basis of one man, one vote. They want political independence. The question of education has nothing to do with the question of the vote. On numerous occasions, it has been proved in history that people can enjoy the vote even if they have no education. Of course, we desire education, and we think it's a good thing. But you don't have to have education in order to know that you want certain fundamental rights, you have got aspirations, you have got claims. It has nothing to do with education whatsoever.
The ANC's battle to end apartheid was receiving worldwide coverage due largely to the efforts of this one man who was born in the Transkei region of South Africa on July the 18th, 1919. He was the son of a Xhosa chieftain and the first member of his family to attend school before going on to study law while working as a security guard in a gold mine. After the introduction of apartheid in 1948, he and other young radicals took over the leadership of the ANC. Initially, they were committed to non-violent civil disobedience, such as strikes, which led to the arrest of 8,500 people. However, after the Sharpeville massacre, in which 69 black people were killed by police, the ANC was declared illegal. At that point, Nelson believed the ANC had no alternative but to resort to strategic violence, and he headed up the organization's armed wing, coordinating a so-called sabotage campaign aimed at military and government targets, such as public buildings, power lines, telephone links, and the railways. After 17 months in hiding, he was arrested, brought to trial and sentenced to 5 years in prison. He faced another trial at the Pretoria Supreme Court in 1964 and was sentenced to life imprisonment. His second wife and co-activist Winnie was there to see him taken away, with their baby Zinzi in her arms. He was taken to the notorious Robben Island prison in Table Bay, where he performed hard labor, breaking up rocks in a lime quarry. And in 1985, President P.W. Botha dangled the carrot of release on the condition that Mandela renounce armed struggle. But meanwhile, support for the banned ANC's cause was hotting up overseas. The United Nations imposed trade sanctions, and on Mandela's 70th birthday in 1988, an estimated 400 million people watched a tribute concert given by the biggest names in rock and pop. In South Africa itself, the ruling National Party gained a new leader, F.W. de Klerk, who set about dismantling apartheid and negotiating the release of Mandela. On the 11th of February 1990, he walked out of the Victor Verster prison to be greeted by Winnie and the waiting crowds. Despite the celebrations, it was obvious that his 27 years in jail had taken their toll. As well as prostate problems, rumors abounded that he'd also contracted tuberculosis and diabetes. Still, it was a day for celebration. The next year, the ANC held its first national conference, electing him as their president, and he led the party in negotiations that resulted in the country's first multiracial elections. And after the assassination of senior ANC leader Chris Hani in April 1993, Mandela addressed the country, appealing for calm, in an historic speech that marked his final rejection of violence. The scene was set for democratic elections to take place on April 27, 1994, on which date the ANC won 62% of the majority vote. 2 weeks later, at the age of 75, Nelson Mandela was elected the country's first black president, with de Klerk as his deputy, in the government of national unity.